when planning this site, which is, just across the street from the Venetian, I really thought that, I took a neighbor approach rather than a competitor approach, because if you look at how Las Vegas was developed in the Las Vegas Strip, each of the properties have its own, niche and characteristics. And I knew that people would walk up and down the Strip. Now, of course, in Macau, it might be with the weather and the rain, it might be covered footpaths with air condition. But at the end of the day, people will want to look at the various properties. And I think statistics show that when people do visit Macau, they visit around 2 or 3 properties. So it was, from the very get-go, I thought it was foolish to just go head-on with other people. I knew that the Venetian was going to focus on conventions, exhibitions, and retail, and they had a lot of space to do all of that. So my thinking was, well, let's try to be complementary, and let's focus on entertainment, because at the end of the day, after people go to conventions, they still want entertainment. And my firm belief was that, the visitors coming into Macau would want to see more attractions. If you go to, Las Vegas, every hotel has its own big wow or small wow, but in Macau it was very gaming driven, so a lot of it was on the casino. But at the end of the day, a baccarat table is just a baccarat table. So what really matters is the surrounding environment. So when I first planned this place, also, I've visited a lot of Vegas casinos, and I am not a fan of big, gigantic 3,000 room hotels, because I believe that you lose your own personality and character when you go into one of those things, because you're just molded. You're almost like a sheep. Take a number and go to your room. And also, they were so heavily themed. A lot of people ask me, what's the City of Dreams? Does the name mean anything? To me, it means everything. Because what we want to do here, we don't want to mold our customers into a certain a little sheep. We want our customers to experience their own dreams and be able to fulfill their own dreams here. So we hope to have something for everybody, and that's why if you look at City of Dreams, for instance, if you want to be a rock star, you go to Hard Rock and you can party like a rock star. We have rock star suites that has mechanical bulls, and we have driving simulators and jacuzzi that fits a number of people in them. If you are a VIP high roller, then Crown Towers is the solution, because at the end of the day, we feel the Crown brand is synonymous with luxury and VIP gaming. And again, Hyatt, which will open around October. It's more resort driven, so it's almost like you've gone to a room in Phuket or Bali. So I think we hope to fulfill our customers' dreams. I think we have a wonderful partner in Mr. James Packer and Crown Limited. And when I first started this Melco Crown Entertainment, it was born out of one tiny little mocha at Hotel Royal with 70 machines. Now we've had very humble beginnings when we didn't even have our own gaming license, and we had to effectively ride on another concessionaire's gaming license. So we've grown that quite significantly, and to be honest, without the international casino management expertise of Crown, I don't think we could have gotten where we are today, because I think the strength of our organization, of our young organization, is we really use diversity. If you look at our management team, it's not just Chinese Australians. We have Chinese, Australian, British, Japanese people, Canadians in our senior management team. So I think our wish is that we're as culturally sensitive as possible, and we just have a more in sync mindset. I think it's been a bumpy ride. There's nothing easy in life, and I think it's important to learn from the experiences. But I think it was a huge undertaking, to do this project. 2.1 billion is a lot of money, especially in the current environment. And thankfully, we have, I think we're very Asian-minded in a sense that, after Asian financial crisis, a lot of the Asian companies were more conservative in terms of maximizing our balance sheet than some of our international competitors. So typical casino companies had debt to equity of 5 or 7 times to 1, whereas in our case we're around 1 to 1, and so we raised all of the necessary financing, debt and equity, around 2006 and 2007. So we even got our bank financing done right before, right around the time when the subprime first blew up. So we were pretty well prepared for it, and thankfully, so we try to think outside the box in terms of many things, whether it's financing, design, or operations. It's fun to do innovative things, and I think innovation and product and service is really ultimately what's going to make the difference. So inside we have a bunch of wow factors, be it the bubble show or the V aquarium where there'll be more and more mermaids, as we load the graphics into there. So there are a lot of photo opportunity and wow factors that people will say, oh, that's very interesting. And when we open the Dragon Theater next year, that's going to be another wow, because Franco Dragon is the creator of the O show in Bellagio in Las Vegas, Le Rêve at Wynn Las Vegas, and also Celine Dion show. So again, that is another show based in water. It's probably going to be the most expensive show ever produced, and technically is as complex as ever. So these are all big wows. But even if you look at the building architecture that we have employed here, and the way we've placed the towers, rather than having the typical Las Vegas model, which is build everything in triangular shape because it's the easiest to build and it's the most efficient use of space. We've carved out the buildings in various aspects for a number of reasons. One, service, because I think rather than waiting 45 minutes for a cup of coffee, quality service is going to be key. I think it's going to be hard to surpass Venetian, because at the end of the day, they're such a gigantic property, and they've done a phenomenal job. 70,000 people a day is no easy feat. I think in order to make our own budget and business plan to work, is a much lower number than that. So thankfully, and that's why I think both of us will benefit from the traffic that goes both ways. And I think obviously headcount is an important component, but for us as well, how we've designed City of Dreams is we're not focused on one segment of the market. We obviously have a big mass market component at our City of Dreams casino, but we also have some pretty awesome VIP facilities within the Crown Towers, and also on the second level of the City of Dreams. Well, I think at the end of the day, we are across the road from one another. We know they want to focus more on conventions and retail, and we are more focused on entertainment aspect. So I think from that standpoint, I think the key for Cotai and for Macau is how we grow the number of visitors here, and how do we grow multi-stay. Right now, I think all of the competitors would say that we're a little bit still disappointed with the fact that yes, it has grown significantly from 0.9 days per visit to 1.5, but I think ideally we would like to see that beyond 2 days or even 3 days. So I think the more hotel rooms that we have in Cotai, the more headcount we will have for all of the properties, and that's why I think all competitors shutting down their project, be it Galaxy or Las Vegas Sands with sites 5 and 6. Short term, it might be a good thing for us because we're the only novelty or the new kid in town. But longer term, we definitely want them to finish their projects as soon as possible, because again, we want people to walk up and down that street. We want people to visit multiple properties, and that will really drive the multi-stay aspect of it. And I think that will be beneficial to everybody. With the establishment of the Macau Casino Chamber, all 6 competitors now sitting down and talking, together. And there are a lot of issues that are of mutual interest that we can, talk to the government about. But with regards to the mainland Chinese government, I think, we all need to understand that Macau, with 450,000 population is really a blimp, a very small blimp in the overall map of China. So I think once China sets on a national policy, it's very hard for any one of us all together to be able to lobby against it. But and from my standpoint as well, we have supported that that visa restrictions, because at the end of the day, if you look at 07, 08, and then the first 5 months of 09, 07, 08, the market grew up by 80%, and so far, the first 5 months is down about 10%. So still, in the 2.5 year time span, the market grew by over 70%. So I think by any stretch of the imagination, that's probably unhealthy growth. And again, we need to bring visitors into Macau, and infrastructure projects take time. So having a breather for a year to really let those infrastructure projects catch up, be it the Pak-on ferry terminal, airport expansion, light rail system. I actually think these are good things, and it also helps to stabilize, some of the social unrest in the city. He has a very successful business, with Lisboa. The Lisboa is a landmark in Macau. So if you've been to Macau and you haven't visited Lisboa or Grand Lisboa, you really haven't visited Macau. Our family gatherings, we try not to talk about business as much, but yeah, I do have meals with him where we talk about Macau, and I do sort advice from him, and he's been very, very kind to give me the advice from as a father to son, rather than from two concessionaires and competitors. You really do see his fingerprints in all parts of Macau. When it was his monopoly, he virtually helped most of the infrastructure projects in Macau. So I think he's he's 88 now, but his determination and hard work is just is inspiring. So we've learned many things from him, and he really does get along with almost everybody. So he's if I am 1/10 as well liked by others as people like him, I consider myself a success.